All right. Hello, Home Service Pros. Welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast, episode number 135. Today, we've got a special guest on the show, Matt DiBara. Sorry, Matt. I should have asked you beforehand how to pronounce it. You can correct me when we're done with the intro there. CEO of the Contractor Consultants, also a fourth generation masonry and concrete contractor, helping run the family business. So without further ado, Matt, welcome to the show, sir.
Mark, thanks for having me. On the name pronunciation, half my family says it one way, half the other. So you covered your bases there.
All right. DiBara. What's the other half say?
They say DiBara, so it's split.
DiBara. All right. Well, so tell me a little bit. So you got two businesses going on. We'll talk a little bit about both to help the audience a little bit. So tell me a little bit about the Contractor connection or consultants, excuse me. What do you guys do there? Who do you do it for?
Yeah, so on the contractor consultant side, our whole thing is helping construction business owners hire. I mean, that was the big issue I had. This business, ironically enough, was never meant to be a business. It was something that I personally struggled with. I had a problem with hiring my company in 2019 and almost blew the whole darn thing up. If you can imagine a fourth generation business and doing that's not good.
Right.
Yeah. So the things we were doing that worked in hiring for 100 plus years just didn't work anymore. And I grew the company. I joke that I'm a recovering sales junkie because I was so motivated by the sales and the contracts and what we were doing. And that was really my main focus and was a big issue. And so I dedicated the next few years after that trying to figure out what worked, and then kind of accidentally developed into a system that I then was showing to like local contractors I knew. And then I started at my trade association and different ones presenting kind of different tips and tricks. And it evolved into a course that we partnered with ZipRecruiter and Indeed on, 63 video modules, and then turned into a done for you service because I looked at the recruiter's fees and that model and I thought we could do it a lot cheaper and a lot better. And that's kind of the rough evolution of how we got there.
Nice. So you're running both. So you grew a little too fast for your own good, it sounded like.
Yeah, well, I outgrew the labor market and the way we were hiring. I mean, the systems were there, the procedures were there. We had a C-suite team. Like it was. We outgrew every way we were hiring. Specifically, masonry and concrete. You need people 10, 15 years experience, and there's no shortcut. So
Right.
It was like we were all trying to fish in the same pond, and it was like more and more people and less fish.
Yeah. So was that your big problem with skilled laborers, technicians, or customer service management?
I mean, we struggled with all of it because the methods that we were using, we had referral partners, smaller contractors that if they got slow would help us out. We had ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Craigslist. Like we had a formula. It's just like all of it evaporated. It was like going to a well that you pulled water from for 30 years and it's just like dry. And you're like, whoa, what happened here? So it was just across the board.
What were some of the fixes that you guys found? I don't want you to give away your secrets in the course there, but what were some of the fixes that made your course worth it? Let's say.
Yeah.
What do you teach in the course?
Yeah. So I mean, it was a very interesting. I mean, it was probably about a 2-year journey because I never set out to make any type of educational product. Like I was like I'm a do it guy, so I just wanted to get the cure and move on. And I think I was a tough case because I'm in LA. It's a big market, hundreds of millions of dollars of masonry and concrete work, right?
Definitely.
Probably in the billions, to be honest, when you look at my commercial and my government vertical within the company. And so, but like very limited labor pool. And so it posed a unique challenge. And I would go to, I'd read books and consultants and I'd travel and I was studying like what worked in tech and what worked in different businesses. And I'd go to seminars and like I would get little nuggets. And everyone told me that was the way it had to be done. And what I ended up realizing was it was one of many. So when we put together the course, we added it up at the end. We have 37 proven ways to find candidates. That doesn't count any of the things that we do to amplify and magnify your efforts. Like, I mean, gosh, and I'll get into as many secrets as you want to cover. I mean, that's the whole purpose. I want anybody listening to be able to action what we're talking about here today. Because there's no magic. What I learned, my key takeaway, there was two big ones. One was, number one is it's formulaic. You got to find
Right.
candidates, fill your pipeline. You got to vet systematically. How do you sift, sort, and screen? How do you skills based assess a candidate? How do you move good ones to the front of the line? Because if you treat them all the same way, you'll lose the good ones because they'll be hired in a day or two, right? So how
Right.
do you navigate that? How do you hire a candidate? Do you email them an offer letter and they shop it at their current employer? Do you bring them
Right.
in? Like, what does that look like? And then how do you retain and motivate? So I broke it up into 4 parts because I was overwhelmed. I was like, well, I'm like trying to find over here and then vet, and like it was just a mess. So when I broke it up into 4 parts, I was like, okay, I can do these 4 steps. Anybody can do 4 steps. So that helped a lot. And then the second thing was, it was very much industry and market specific. Like right now, we do this across 87 industries, and we're in the Canadian market. We're probably going to be in the Australian market in another couple
Wow.
months here. Like, we've grown the company very quickly, but we take a very specific approach to things because it's not a one size fits all. Like there might be a strategy like geofencing that works really well for one client, but you may find that an incentive based strategy for a current team, we call it incentives that actually work in the course, for another local market, they might be able to do that with their current team and make a ton of hires. So it's very much specific to what works in your local area.
Yeah. Well, just having SOPs is a game changer, right? So, and I imagine most of the companies that you encounter have zero SOPs for hiring in the first place, correct?
Yeah,
Or am
they,
I
they don't
wrong
have a
there?
lot. No, they don't have a lot. And if they do, it's not, hiring became a specialized niche in the last, like right before the pandemic. You saw the buildup in 18, 19, and then it exploded during the pandemic, where it was like the amount of work relative to the labor force. I mean, that's what all the headlines are right now, right? It's like we've
Yeah.
this diminishing workforce. The American Builders and Contractors, which is a partner of ours, says we need 590,000 skilled trade workers just to meet current demands. Doesn't count if we get another big boost. So, and we look at aging infrastructure, right? Like, the average age of American home, average age of American infrastructure, like
Right.
we, and then you look at AI and you look at the go green, like environmental updates we're doing, you math out all these things and you're like, holy moly, we're
Yeah.
the market's huge. So what do you do? Well, I mean, we can cover some of the specific things that we find work well. If you think that's helpful, or, you tell
Yeah.
me.
Throw out, one or two things that the average contractor out there probably is not doing right now, that if they just tweaked one or two things, they'd have a lot easier time bringing in some people.
Yeah, one of them is getting a clear understanding of your local competitive market or competitor market. So auditing your competitors. What are they doing? How are they hiring? Like what platforms are they on? What are they saying? Right? Because you want to look better than them. It's a local, we're typically
Yeah.
talking about a local search. And
Yeah.
then doing that internal audit for your current team. So we have clients and they got Bob. Bob's been there 16 years. I'll ask a business owner, hey, why has Bob worked for you for 16 years? Well, we're a good company. I'm like, Bob gave 16 years of his life. You got to be better than a good company. Let's figure this out. So we interview
Right.
Bob, right? We say, Bob, why do you love working here? Bob tells us, well, I have never sat home in 16 years. Really? You've never had a day off in 16? Never. He's like, I've literally been overtime eligible and worked full hours for 16 years. Holy moly. Right now we have something we can amplify in our messaging
Always. Right. There's
when we go.
always work.
Yeah, there's always work. And then another thing was the birthday celebrations. He's like, I love that this family company, he's like, we're big. He's like, we have 200 people now, but like he knows my wife's birthday, my daughter's birthday, like my son's birthday. Like he's like, we have that family feel. Like the ownership is very big on that. And so
Nice.
all of these things shed the light. And then we help them make a career video, which is a 60 to 90-second video, showcases your worker, your team, the work they do, the trucks, the office, all that stuff. And you start to stack, right? You message a little bit better. You amplify what's already working. You look a little better than your competitors. You have a career video. You set up some really good referral incentives for your current team. Like
Yeah.
there's no magic bullet. It's a lot of small things that give you a
Right.
competitive edge. When you add them all up, you just can dominate the market.
Yeah. Lots of little golden BBs and not a magic bullet. I forgot where that line comes from, a movie or something.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I like that a lot. So performance. So going to the existing client, employee, staff, the team, and introducing, if you don't already have it, some sort of performance pay for A plus recruitment. Step one, kind of going to
Yeah.
in-house.
What we found though is and this is where we got into all the nuance is so like we tried that or like early on with my company, right? I went to everybody, I'm like, here's the pay. You bring us a laborer, it's 500. You bring us a mason, it's 1,500. You bring us a foreman, it's $3,000. And we backed like out what it would cost us if we really recruited
Right.
and we did it like that. We hired a few people, wasn't overly exciting. So I was I was actually getting blood drawn. There was a male nurse. I was getting some medical work done, and I'm always doing two things: promoting my company and hiring. So nurse is like setting up the little
Right.
needle thing, and he's like, "How's business? Business is great." I said, "We're hiring. Do you know anybody?" And he said, "No, I don't know anybody." He was kind of checked out, right? I said, "Well, if you do, let me know. We're giving him really good Dodger seats." I said that because he had a Dodgers keychain hanging from his pocket. He stopped what he was doing and he said, "Dodger seats, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What's the position again? Like, who are you looking for?" I said, "What labor?" I explained it. He said, "My nephew just came back from college." He's like, "Let me talk to him." I got a text that night. Next day he interviewed. We hired him. He's still with us today. The key
Nice.
takeaway is if you can incentivize people based on the things that excite them, right?
Yes.
Then you're going to get exponentially more out of them. They're genuinely going to be motivated because the generic cash or gift card, it works, but we're talking about a labor crisis. So you
Right.
want everybody maximum investment in the goal of finding somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that a lot. And listening, to your audience, who you're talking to. So would you recommend like querying your existing staff and asking them what they would like to see as far as a referral, right? And then you get a whole bunch of different answers.
Yeah, and you can do it one on one, like literally one on one, making them feel like they're the main person doing this. I mean, that's what we found is the best. Like most companies, single biggest issue is they don't spend enough time and energy and focus on hiring in general.
Yeah.
Is what we see. And if you sat down one on one with your team, and were like, "Hey, this is an initiative. We want more people like you. What would it take for you to be excited and motivated to do this genuinely?"
Yeah, I like that a lot. I also like that you said earlier, I'm always promoting and recruiting, right? So we had Tommy Mello on the show a few episodes back, and same thing. He was super adamant about you always need to be promoting your business both to consumers and to potential employees. How are you going to steal, especially in something like this, right? So your technicians are a short labor pool, um, and really the best men and women already have jobs, more than likely. So how do you go steal those guys and those men and women, right? You have to show that I like how you started with the culture also. So what's great about your company? Interviewing the employees right now. Why are you here 15 years, right, Joe? Why are you here, Mary, for 12 years? So documenting that culture and then promoting that culture, I like that a lot. So let's talk about, so now we're defining our culture. We're creating a career video. So now we're going out and we're making a concerted effort to hire people. Now, how do we sift, sort, and screen? Like you said, as an employer, I don't want to deal with every single applicant that comes across the table, right? So how do we address that problem?
Well, I mean, this is where it gets tricky. And this is where literally we started the done for you service out of kind of this key issue, which was the
Okay.
administrative burden, because you we got to treat these like leads, right? So like a customer calls a company, right? It's like they want to spend money. If you don't answer the phone, right?
Right.
They're going to call the next person until they get, three or four companies that reach back out. I mean, we know this data has been around for a while,
Definitely.
on the consumer side, right? In the home service space. But when you look at hiring, we got to treat these like leads. So within a few minutes, like our team, if we do it for a company, we get in touch within the first 3 or 4 minutes. Like we're reaching back out. "Hey, we got your resume. Want to chat with you." But you got to screen them quickly. And the best thing to do is to have a quick, instant touch point, right? That lets them know you've received the information. Ideally, try and get them on the phone. Text works great.
Yeah.
If you leave a voicemail, texting after the fact because there's local laws and things about texting. If you don't have permit, you want to be a little careful with that.
Right.
But following up very quickly, and then having a process that people can I actually see that a lot of companies have a kind of a general process, like, quick initial touch point, informal interview, formal interview, and then ideally you have some type of skills assessment, right? So like a paid assessment, if you're like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, like bring them to your shop, your yard, right? And have them do something paid for half a day or a day that validates the skill set,
I like,
is super crucial. Because
yeah,
if if you get someone really good, you can skip them to like, if you look at somebody and their resume is 20 years, HVAC contractor, reason for leaving your company, well, they sold or owner retired. It's like, do you really want to do like an informal interview and then a second interview? Like, get them right on the phone and ask them 5 or 6 questions and schedule that skills assessment for tomorrow. Because if they
yeah,
are good, they're gone. Same thing if somebody moves in, like if somebody's local to your area because somebody got a job at Amazon, and it's like the husband's there and now he's got all this experience and he happened to be new. This person's going to find a job within a week. So
yeah,
having that escalation process and that filtering process is super crucial.
yeah. I like that. Do you guys use automation for workflow response and stuff? Yeah, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the world we're in now. So for those
Yeah.
out
A
there
good.
who aren't, you definitely want to use, you know,
Yeah.
all the tools at your disposal, right? So, Matt,
Yeah.
we've had a couple of companies. The last two podcasts were actually on the same subject: finding, hiring. Actually, Who Hire was a couple episodes back, and they had a software that helps you sift, sort, and screen to that first, interview process. Second company was Conveyor. Not as much on that end, but I did like they had a like built-in training, onboarding and training, right? So where you would create videos, training manuals, checklists, whatever was involved to get your training and SOPs as well, right? So do you use any kind of software at all to sift, sort, and screen those initial candidates at all, or what's the process look like a little bit?
Yeah, we have a couple different softwares that we use internally, but like we're doing this at scale, so it's a little
Yeah,
different. If
yeah,
you're if you're listening right now, you need an applicant tracking system. That's like goes without saying. But it all depends on your volume, right? It depends on how many people you get. Some people can get away. Like if you're a company that's cutting edge, you got a great CRM, you have workflow automations, you can handle the IT burden. Like that's the best case scenario.
yeah,
But we find that like the big root issue is that a lot of companies don't have the time. So it's like they got to take on this process. They don't quite know all the ways to do it. Like I said, we have 37 different ways just to find candidates. And
right.
then they're trying to build out this integration and this workflow automation. So, figuring out and being honest with where you sit in this, but not violating the fundamentals. Like if you can get to every candidate within a few minutes and not automate it, sure. But if you can't, you got to find a way to do that. And
Yeah,
most
yeah. Yeah, I doubt it's happening without automation, or if it is, you're spending a fortune to do it, as far as a team and labor. So, yeah, just automate it. People want that anyway. The consumer, the applicant, we're in a text world now, right? People don't want phone, email, all that stuff. Send me a text, give me confirmation, give me acknowledgement, like you say, like just like the consumer looking for plumbing service. You got 1 minute. You don't even have 5 minutes. I would argue. Some data out there shows, first minute, the first one to pick up the phone. And if I'm calling as a potential candidate and you don't answer your phone, you and I are done, right? How many times does that happen? Quite
yeah,
often.
yeah. We see it, and that's the interesting part about this industry. And what's different about us is like we own the end result, right? So if a company hires us, like we're taking them from I need this role to I filled this role, but not for a fraction of what a recruiter charges. So we manage all of like it's tough for a company sometimes to add the automation to build everything out to like we post to
Definitely.
157 job boards. We have technology like geofencing that we use.
Nice.
In addition to like all of these auditing, all of the competitor audit, the employee audit. All of these things are super critical. We have what's called a one-to-many strategy. So one-to-one is you getting your team motivated, you getting other contractors and friends that are hiring. Hey, while you're hiring, if you come across anybody that does X, let me know. That works really well. A lot of people don't take the time to do that. Recruiting cards, carrying recruiting cards with you, trade
Oh,
schools,
all right.
universities, right? Reaching out to them and saying, hey, look, I'd love to get in front of your alumni list. Here's the job that we have, especially if you have a connection to that school. Like we have a client, he does work at a college, like physically does the electrical work at the university. I'm like, why don't you reach out to them? Like they literally, you're a vendor, an approved vendor. They hired you,
Yeah.
hired two
Yeah.
people in 3 weeks after that. So yeah, there's so many exciting ways to leverage this, but
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, there really is. What would you say the top three like problems that most, well, so you're doing it across all kinds of industries, yes?
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting how you scaled that to outside of home services, kind of. So that's an interesting. What did you do there? So once your SOPs were and your systems were in place, you realized, hey, we can do this for other positions.
Yeah, I mean, we cover so like it's still I guess home service is the backbone, right? But it's like
Okay,
we do it for general contractors, we do it for moving companies, demo contractors, labor contractors, plumbing, heating, electrical,
that's still very
all the
different. Yeah,
yeah,
those are very
welding,
different positions, right?
yeah, small
But
companies, large. I mean, smallest one is a handyman. We're hiring his first laborer. He does about 80 grand a year. Largest one is 5 companies. He'll do well over 100 million this year.
nice, that's awesome, man. What are the biggest problems that let's say the average 10 truck or less contractor has? Plumber, electrician, solar installer. What are their
So
biggest problems? Would you say in hiring?
well, I think, a career video to make them look really attractive online, right? Get
Love
the
that.
candidate to fall. Of having your hot three, the big three things why somebody should work for you, like summarizing it. Like when you're promoting, what are you saying? Like work for
Right.
me because what? Understanding the messaging, posting to enough job boards and getting in front of people, leveraging referrals, like I mentioned, whether contractors, trade schools, universities. If you have 10 trucks or less, creating a relationship with your suppliers. So we found that you can offer to sponsor coffee and donuts, and in
Yeah.
exchange for that, you can put a small card, a little recruiting card. Most suppliers will let you do this,
Yeah.
and get in front of your candidates that way. Um, and then leveraging some of the technologies like geofencing, which you can geofence certain locations, trade schools, suppliers, as well as competitors. So it's multifaceted, but I think the root issue that we find, like the root is bandwidth and knowledge. Like
Hmm.
hiring has become like SEO. It's a specialized industry. Like most construction business owners have somebody outside their company that does their SEO, right? Like what like, and this better than
Definitely.
anybody. It's a specialized art form, right? It's very technical. And hiring has almost gotten that way where it's so formulaic. You have to have all of these things layer one on top of the other for it to be successful. And then you need bandwidth on top of that and speed. Um, and
Yeah.
so that's what we found. It's knowledge, it's what to do, and then the bandwidth to properly execute it and do it consistently because you can't miss one. That one resume that you wait a day on, or
Yeah.
maybe you didn't answer your phone, that could have been the one.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. Talk about like building the culture and promoting that culture on social. So do you talk to these business owners about making this a 365-day adventure? That they should always be posting the social and showing their culture and birthdays and all that kind of stuff. Or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, we try. I mean, it comes down to a lot of times. You're laughing. A lot of times it comes down to bandwidth. The career video is nice because at least it's a snapshot. The footage is like
I
celebrating a
like it.
birthday, and like you get that feel. But it's hard. I mean, we found the success for us has been like when they hire us, like we're taking stuff completely off their plate. We're like, here's a vetted approved candidate out of nowhere. Here's a vetted approved candidate out of nowhere. Like, we have to subtract because whether you're small, medium, or large, 10 trucks and under is still good size. Like it's just a bandwidth question. It's like, where do you
Yeah.
find the time? Who's doing this? Is it part the owner? Do you have like an operations manager? Do you have an HR manager? How, like, you're paying your HR manager to sift through resumes. Like it's just the model and infrastructure needs an upgrade. And I think that's where we're kind of really, really helping the market.
I like it a lot. What percentage is your DIY course versus done for you service?
Oh gosh, like 95% done for you. The
Yeah, I was going to guess
Yeah.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, probably more. The course really served as a way to give people confidence. Like when we partnered
Sure.
with ZipRecruiter and Indeed, and we sold it, but we started selling it and it did well, but I got a lot of hate online that was like, if you're so good, this is a labor shortage. Why don't you just do it? And at first I got mad and I was like, we put out this course. There's nothing else that I'm aware of that's like it. 63 video modules, 37 ways to find people. This was extremely comprehensive.
Yeah.
The co-founder of ZipRecruiter went out to endorse it, like got in the hands of it, went through it and was like,
Wow.
I love this. So, I was like, who is this guy? And then I was like, you know what? He's right. Like he was speaking from a place of like,
Yeah.
we need to just do it. And so that was literally, I mean, I should have screenshotted him because he was the whole inspiration for us taking this on and doing it.
That's sweet. Are you doing that? So let's take us over to the masonry business now. Fourth generation masoner, mason.
Yeah. Yeah.
My bad. Um, so that's super awesome. Did your great great grandfather start the business then and passed it down? Now same business for four generations, or
Yeah.
they were in the industry?
Yeah. So family business, they came from Italy. Both my great grandfathers actually from Italy to America, kind of that grassroots American dream story, built,
Yeah.
saved money, bought land. But we never, what's interesting, I think what made what I benefited most from them was we weren't contractors. Like they loved it. They did it because they were just working with their hands.
Right.
And so all the work they did was for their neighbors. And so we had this neat kind of saying. My grandfather sits me down. I'm like 9 years old. And he says, I was just starting to work with my dad. And I had like the talk. My grandfather, he was proud of me. I had little work boots, a little kid. And he said, I want to teach you two things. Remember these two things forever and you'll always do well. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what are these two things? He said, number one, never try and retire off a single customer. He's like, an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. It'll never happen. Like, don't try and get rich off one customer.
Nice.
I said, okay, I'm 9, so I think I'll be okay. And then he said, second thing, treat every client like it's your neighbor. He said, and he pointed to the neighbor right next door, Mrs. Jones, and he's like, if it was Mrs. Jones' house, if what you would do for her is what you would do, I guarantee that's the right answer. And so that's kind of how we grew the business, was from this very much neighbor focused kind of mentality.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. And you said earlier before we hit the record button that you had moved the business to California. Where'd you move from back east, or where from?
Yeah, family was outside of Boston, and then I had to escape the cold weather. I thought the birds did it. I'd give it a try, so I left the cold weather and flew west to California.
That's great. Did you say the birds do it? So I thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah, well, they fly. They leave when it gets cold. I would always look up
awesome.
at the birds.
I love it, man. That's great.
Do chimneys, and I'd look up at the birds, and I'm like, my dad, It's freezing cold. I'm like, hey, Dad, the birds are leaving. I'm like, their brain's about this big. I'm like, the size of a golf ball. I'm like, they clearly know something we don't.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Yeah, let's pay attention to nature. They're all leaving. It's getting cold around here, man. I love it. I love it. So how long in California now?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question. Going on about a decade now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And is it just you now, or your dad still into business, or?
Yeah, he's in it a little bit. He's got some health stuff. He got dementia early, which was a big eye opener.
Yeah. Damn.
It made me very grateful for building the company and him seeing it, because he struggled to hire. That was actually kind of why I pushed this thing so hard, is because it was near and dear to me. I didn't see my dad growing up a lot because he was always working. And didn't really know the hiring game. And so when it hit me, I was like, whoa, he struggled with it. And I knew that. But then when I was like, I figured this out. And then in 2019, I was like, oh man, this can happen to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sorry about your dad and the dementia, man. Glad the business is there to hopefully take care of him and stuff.
Yeah.
What's the key points of running your contracting business itself? What do you give? What would you say to 3 indispensable things you couldn't do without in running that business, Matt?
I mean, we've done a couple things that I think are played out very well. We modernized the business on the sales side. So we did virtual estimates, and we really looked at how do we make the process for clients better and also better for us. So I think if we didn't have we do virtual. Client will send in photos, and we can give them a rough quote over the phone and give them tons of information from the comfort of their couch in 10 minutes. So I'll
Wow.
have a salesperson, they can do 4 of these an hour. In LA traffic, you're lucky if you hit one person every 2.5 hours between get there, have your appointment, and go somewhere else. So huge competitive advantage for the
Smart.
company.
I like. So they
Um,
take a picture of their backyard, for instance, and I want a pool and some hardscaping and a patio, gazebo, whatever, and away you guys go with some software or something for design plans.
Yeah, and
I
we're able
like.
to talk with them on the phone and give them preliminary budgets and talk through our process and build rapport. And then they decide whether or not they want us to come out. So it's this very small ask, right? It's like based on the conversation, because we don't do free estimates. So it's split. We either do the free phone consult or we charge $97 to come out. So,
I see.
um, and we don't have a commit, like it's not a heavy commission, heavy sales thing, right? Like they're paying for our knowledge. And so our key thing is like, how do we be the most knowledgeable person they meet with? So it's very much built around that like transparent neighbor kind of knowledge. And if we don't sell them, like a lot of times we go out there and we're like, hey, the best thing is not us, and here's why. But we were paid to go out there, so we owe them that advice.
Yeah. Well, that's a great. Honesty works best all the time, right? So if it's not the best job for you, you say so. They'll love you. They'll thank you. They'll go hire somebody else, but they'll probably still recommend you to somebody with a bigger job or one that's more fits your wheelhouse or something. So yeah,
100%.
always do the right thing. Karma is a bitch, man. So
Yeah.
it'll come get you. And on the reverse side, karma is also awesome. So do good, be good humans. As I can't for Pat McAfee, I think it's a sports show. Be good humans.
I like it.
Awesome. So how about tools? You guys using software you're using design software. It sounds like CRM,
Yeah, we're
dispatch.
pretty automated. I mean, CRM handles everything. We got automations that we built out specifically for the virtual model. We take video estimates. So when we go out to a client, we'll actually video everything we're talking about, and we'll like pull up like a brochure and like include that in the video. So not only they get a very interactive, there'll be software involved sometimes, but if it's like a repair or you're fixing cracks, it's like we'll show them like, hey, this crack here, and we'll attach the video link, private link for them, as well as the written estimate so they can see the things that we're doing. Like concrete is another one where like you might have tree roots raising certain areas, and it's like, well, you could say area 1, area 2, area 3, or you could take photos, but the video is
Yeah,
great because you can show that.
yeah,
So
I like that.
that's how.
I like that a lot. What about on the marketing side? So, in fact, let me take you back, Matt, if I could, to contractor consultants. So, do you guys handle the advertising side of that also, like LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, like you said? So, are they spending? So, they're spending money to hire you, done for you service. Do you guys help them with the advertising side, perform all that for them, and then they spend, right? So your service plus their ad spend.
For hiring, yeah, specifically. Like we're not helping them get clients. We're helping them get people. But yeah, we'll manage LinkedIn. We'll do social media stuff sometimes. Like it depends a little bit on what their market tells us. Like sometimes we had a painter, for example, and he couldn't find anybody. We hired 6 painters in I think 5 weeks, right? So like, and that was just with our basic methodology. We have kind of a tiered approach. So like our back end is we adjust based on what the market's telling us. So we have kind of a formula, and it's like, okay, this got some traction. Let's add in this and this. Okay, like we've got this tiered model, and that's why we can confidently, small town, big city, different industries. It's like the formula is what helps us.
I like it. I like it. So that is correct. So there'll be some ad spend depending on the market, what they're trying to fill, and all that.
Sometimes,
Do people hire you, Matt, on a month to month basis, like keep it going, or they just fill a position, or more than one, and then they're done
yeah.
till the
So
next
we have a kind of a maintenance mode, right? We like a build their bench because what we found is that
time. Like,
we like our goal is to go after the recruiters and the staffing agencies. I think they've been scalping contractors for too many years. I think it's abuse. I think they overcharge. I think they've kept their formula to themselves, and so we look at it like, how can we partner with a company? How do we give them what they need? Like you own the data, you own the candidates, like you do the interviews. There's no downside to trying a candidate because our monthly fee is per position, right? So we do 3 active open positions because there's different screening questions and different job descriptions. But the employer has the benefit of saying, well, I like John, but I'm not sure. Well, if you had a recruiter and you had to pay 15 grand to find out, you might not try John. But what we're finding is all these clients are trying people now and going, oh my gosh, they're so much better than we thought, or I brought them in and they're great. So we uncovered this issue within the issue, which is the inability to try people. And so we can turn it up or down. So we have the maintenance mode, which is under $500 a month, and we'll organically continue to build their bench, warm up candidates so that when they turn it back on, they've got a head start, because only 2 things have happened if somebody applied. Number 1 is they're still looking for a job, or number 2, they found a job, but it's fresh. So, right. They'll usually entertain that phone call. Hey, how's everything going? Well, glad you called. They haven't paid me. It's been 3 weeks. It's like, well, glad we had you on our list. This is good. So that's kind of how we structure it.
Nice. I like that. So, you don't even have to be that big, and you're kind of constantly hiring, right? So always looking for tech, CSRs, all that good stuff. How about going up the ladder? How about a general manager, Matt? Because so the biggest problem I see with a lot of our clients, anyway, they'd like to step out of running the day-to-day, but they cannot find that man or woman to run the show while they're not doing the day-to-day. So do you get into general manager positions and such?
It's crazy. Like we just hired a CRO for a company. So in our behind the scenes, our team, like our culture is we ring bells and we get excited by how much money we saved clients and recruiters' fees. So we hired a CRO, and this is a $200,000 position. I mean, it was like $48,000 in recruiters' fees. We found them in 3 months. So it cost our staff $1,500 a month. So they paid $4,500, found a CRO, and I think they hired 2 techs in that span for 40. Like it's insane. But our goal is to work with them long term. It's to build this bench. It's to be an extension of the business. And so we're not playing the short, get rich quick recruiter game. We're playing the, hey, let's build and be an extension of your company. We truly integrate, right? It's like we have their calendar. We're putting interviews from our calendar done into theirs. Like it's meant to be an extension of the company, not let's keep everything, put this resume that's secretive, tell us if you like it. Like it's just, it needed an upgrade. And we found that the market's been very receptive. I mean, we've grown very quickly.
Yeah, very nice. So on that GM side or CFO, CROs, these people are all pretty much working for somebody right now, right? So how do you attract those kind of talent, that kind of talent?
So the standard package is the organic, and then sometimes we add in the sponsored post if you need it. Sometimes we have a bolt-on, which is essentially like an active headhunter, and so we can add that, and we can do a lot of outreach. Some of that we do as part of the organic, but it's really about having a formula, like understanding who you're going after, what I can say great about my company, and what are all the different ways to find them, message them, and then to continue to follow up. Because it's not, the other part of it is like, if you do have the bandwidth to do this and you're reaching out, you got to look everywhere. I mean, we're looking at networking groups. We're researching like what companies sold, what companies went, maybe out of business. Like there's all these shifts in the marketplace. What companies got acquired. Like we did one where we found somebody, they did an acquisition, and we knew that they were going to cut the management team of the smaller company and they were going to bring it under the fold. So we're like, we have an entire C-suite team that's got a proven track record of 10 plus years that is going to hit the market. Like that's the level of time and energy it takes to really win at this game.
Yeah. Nice. So you got a lot of outbound going, it sounds like.
Yeah. For certain clients, some of it you don't need that, but yeah, some of it, I mean, we really have to step it up for sure.
Depends on the position, right? And the client. Yep. Awesome. All right. Let's go back to, what is the name of your contractor company, your masonry, DiBara Masonry?
Yeah, real creative.
Hey, no, use your name. 94 stars, 94 reviews, 4.8 on Google. I see you got a lot of great reviews on Yelp and Home Advisor and stuff. So hats off to you there. Practicing what you preach. So take us there. So we're about marketing, right? So what what are the key marketing things that are working for you guys now in the local LA market?
What are we doing? Gosh, we do so much. Facebook ads. Seeing a lot with
Facebook.
Facebook ads. Next door ads. We're always testing new creative. Um, we do a lot with next door. Pay per click, SEO, referral partners is a big one.
Mm,
We got to do a lot on the business development side. Like have great relationships with GC, general contractors, landscape designers. I mean, best thing I ever did was build out a business development wing. I mean, they go to 15 locations a day. Ding, 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 knock, hi. This is who we are. That was, I mean, the ROI on some of that stuff in tandem with the digital strategies has been great.
no.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty aggressive with it because I like to have the control and I have different crews. So the ability to scale up or down specific services is why because we have a lot of reoccurring business. But
You do a lot of commercial work. I would say more than home residential, or am I wrong?
I would say we probably do revenue wise, we probably do about, I mean, job number wise, the residential stuff's much smaller. It's
Yeah.
probably 40% residential, 60 commercial in terms of revenue.
Okay.
But number of jobs, I mean, residential jobs might be 1,000, 2,000, up to 500,000, typically.
Right.
So a
Right.
lot more quantity.
So Google ads, Facebook ads. Are you running like information ads, with a lead magnet and email follow-up series and all that kind of stuff? Or are you just looking for ready buyers?
The LA market is so interesting for what we do. Like the education side of things, like really kind of nurturing and building that long tail where the consumer gets to know you, right? They know, like, trust. That we haven't. I mean, there's so much demand for our service
I see.
that we haven't had to really dive into that. It's been, I mean, we get networking with like associations and things like that, but we focus a lot top of funnel. So like general contractors, landscape designers, landscape architects, because one of those
I,
relationships like is worth five. Like I have one GC. I mean, we'll do 5, probably 6 to 7 million this coming year with him. Just one GC downstream.
one guy, one
Yeah,
referral partner. Yeah.
relationship. And we've got
Is there a monetary reward for that contractor sending you business, or
doesn't want it.
so just the fact that you guys do awesome work, he gets to refer quality service, quality work.
The best marketing tool I found, and this is kind of interesting for us, was the ability to control a schedule and control timeline. Like I put so much like
Uh,
when we figured out the hiring, then we started like we just won a job. We just got a job. I don't know, 350 grand, $340,000. I just got an email before getting on here. We closed it because we could guarantee we were going to complete it in 6 weeks. The competitors were saying 12 to 14 weeks. We
mm,
were 30% higher in cost, but they had to close this out before the rainy season. Like we have this tight deadline. And so like I found that I've been able to close more work by leveraging what I've done on the hiring side and then pulling that forward and saying
mm.
like, we'll agree to crazy deadlines. Like I'm doing something on the San Diego Navy base. The schedule is banana. It's crazy. Like you're on, you're off, you're on, you're off. You need
Oh,
15 people, then no people, then 30 people, then no
I
one. Like, but because we focus so much on the hiring, we're now using that on the sales side. We have preferred relationships and we're able to just do things that a lot of companies can't do because we tailor our business to these key relationships.
Nice. I like that a lot. You're winning because you've got the team to do so, and you can bring on more if needed.
100%.
Yeah, awesome. What? So Facebook ads, Google ads, Yelp. You using Yelp at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We use Yelp. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. So ads everywhere and pay per click kind of thing. LSA ads, but no on the informational side. So that's interesting because the demand is has outstripped your need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we had that built out for a while. Like I built out YouTube videos, and we were going to test it, and then we changed to a pain driven model on our advertising. So we really focused on we tried like I mean we tried all kinds. I did lumpy mail at one point. I had this thing where we mailed out these plastic cameras and like said, is your historic home photo where like we've done over the years. I've tried so many different marketing things because I
Mm.
enjoy that part of the business, but I found that simple pain driven ads for the type of stuff we do, crack driveways, outdoor, don't love your front yard, backyard, or, the cladding of your home, stuff like that. the pain, leaning retaining walls, just focusing on the pain of reminding them of the problem. We've been able to create demand on Facebook where they're like, I've been thinking about it, but I decided to call because I saw your ad. So we're actually pulling demand forward. We're the first call that they make. And that's helped us outgrow a lot.
That's awesome. Are you using automation in your follow up to all those leads sources? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Automation and
What
then the
are you
newsletter.
using, if you don't mind my asking, Matt?
We use a CRM called Builder Prime.
Okay. And it has workflow automation, communication automation built in
Mhm.
to all those
Yeah.
channels: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, Google.
The communicating with the clients on those apps, I don't believe it does that. We have lead form. So the lead form, basically a lot of the stuff is opt-in based. And then once they end up in our CRM, we have like the workflow on that is because we have like two core offers, right? Free estimate, paid, and then we have commercial,
Right.
and we have residential, we have a government like side where we do prevailing wage work. So like all of that is like, it's scary when I look at that. When I pull up the Miro board and you see like it's wild.
And so your automation is sift sorting and screening and trying to find the right bucket to put them into?
Correct. Yeah. And then we move them through, and then there's follow up sequences in every bucket and task queue reminders for our team. And then we can pull activity reports to see like, somebody, what are all the tasks that don't have or all the leads that don't have a future task. And, we can pull activity reports by user and see like the technology now is, you're talking to somebody at like, I was, we used to have we didn't even have film. Dad used to have to go and take photos of brick homes and then develop the film and circle what we were going to do. Like
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You had to wait a few days for the film to come back in
Yeah.
the old school days. That's
Yeah.
right. Or you invested in the Polaroids, right? That shot out but at $4 a picture or some crazy figure it back then. That's interesting. So nice.
Exactly.
So you got the workflow all set up and communicating with your sales team, so they log in the morning, they know who they're calling, who to touch base with. So yeah, I love it all. Um, so tell me, Matt, I'm the world's worst interviewer. So what would you like to talk about that I didn't bring up?
I think you covered a lot of the key things. I think, if you're focusing on hiring and doing some of the things that we talked about, specifically around what makes you great. One other thing that we didn't talk about is that's very actionable. I'm trying to pick things that anybody listening can just do is finding incentives. So I'll give an example of a case study. We had a demolition contractor, and we were trying to come up with a way. Their margins are tight, and so we were trying to come up with a way. They're like, "Look, I can't pay these crazy numbers that these big companies can." So
Mm,
we said, "What's the math on if you got a professional massage for your entire crew once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever frequency you feel comfortable with?" And so we put that in the ad. Like we put wellness program at the top, and we
wow.
said, you get a professional massage, you get this, like a couple other perks, but we called this wellness program. The applicants basically tripled, but the quality was more interesting. And we incorporated that in this career video. And so that's an example of finding, we call that leveraging the gaps, but it's like, what can you do that's unique to you that a potential candidate might look at and go, oh my gosh, this is so unique. And a few dollars an hour helps, but it's like, what are the things you can do that has a benefit, but also shows that you care?
Yeah. Yeah. Love that, man. Love how you're digging in and, into the unusual box and finding what ticks for the market. That's beautiful. Love it. Matt, well, let's close it out. How do people reach you if they want to, get a little interested in your course or your done for you services? Where do they go?
Yeah, the website. I got a fantastic team. So the contractor consultants, get in touch with the team if you have any questions. We're always here to help. Our goal is just like you mentioned earlier about secrets. I'm like, we have no secrets. Like if you have the bandwidth to tackle these, then I think do it in house. If you don't, we're here to help.
Yeah. What does it take, like bandwidth wise? So let's say I've got I'm a plumber and I've got 20 trucks. I got a team of 50 people. Can I do it in house with one or two people, or am I
I mean,
dreaming?
we're gonna. Depends on your market. Some people could get by. If you got 20 trucks, you're doing something right. But if you want to scale and do it effectively and efficiently, we're going to spend. It might take us 15, 20 hours a week, maybe more of specialized, people who are just doing that one thing and that's it with a proven formula to get a result. So I mean, we make it so cost effective that it's like, why would you not use us?
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Try it at least. Matt, you're awesome. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. So the contractor consultants.com. And how about on the your masonry business, Matt? You want to give that website away, or?
It's DiBaraMasonry.com. So just my last
Yeah,
name and masonry.com.
might have some listeners in LA looking to put in some hardscape. Who knows, right?
There you go.
All right, my friend. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you, Matt. Appreciate what you did. Looks like you're pretty proactive getting things done, man. So my hat's off to you.
Appreciate you.
Creating a world where it wasn't really where you were standing in, but you solved the problem that came up and made a whole new business out of it. So hats off to you, man. I take
Thank
it
you,
off,
Mark.
and I'm pretty bald underneath, so don't want to flash the audience. All right, brother. Have a
Take
good one,
care.
man. Thank you, man.
Yeah.